hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you are from, and welcome to our Math Mastery Study session, Unlocking A-Star Secrets. Now, this session is applicable for IGCSE, O-Level, A-Level, and SAT. It's just generally for all kinds of math, and I will be presenting. I'm an ambassador and contributor at ZNotes, and I'm currently doing my A-Levels, and yeah, I hope these tips today will help you a lot. Okay, if you have any questions, like Velvi Plush said, you can just type your questions in the chat and I'll also be sharing this presentation later. Okay, so without any further ado, let's start our session and yeah, I hope this is helpful for you. Okay. So first of all, let me just share a little backstory, okay? So a backstory is that not naturally a math person. I was more of this wordy kind of linguistic person. Math never came naturally to me, and whenever I would look at a mathematical equation, I would just go blank. This is like another language. I could not understand the language of numbers, and I wanted to drop maths, but it was compulsory. But then I got A star in IGCSE, and I'm currently doing further maths in A levels. So you might be wondering, how did that happen? Well, you need to understand the basics of the subject. Okay, you need to understand what the subject consists of. Okay, you need to break it down. You need to see that it's not like economics, it's not like business where you just learn the information and write. It is a complex thing. It is slightly more complex. It is the basis for all science and engineering subjects as well. Effective study planning, you might see this as cliche, but that is okay. Because if you have a plan of action, even though you might not stick to it like really properly, you still need a basic idea of how you're going to do and what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. Problem solving techniques, we're going to discuss how you can do past papers properly, topicals properly, because math is a very problematic subject in the sense that you need to go through a lot of problems in order to understand it. Going through problems is basically your solution, and you need to keep yourself motivated all the time. Like, not motivated, I would say discipline is a better word, because motivation, it comes and goes. But if you are disciplined, if you do a bit of math every day, then no one can stop you from getting that A star. So now we need to understand the basics. Okay, we need to understand what kind of subject this math is. Okay, why is it so problematic? Because one thing, okay, suppose you are learning English literature, you just learn one play and drama and you answer questions about it. That's okay. But math is a sequential subject. Every topic builds on the previous one. You cannot do algebra without knowing 1 plus 1. You cannot do calculus without knowing algebra. It is a very sequential topic. Everything you learned back in grade 1, you still use it today. It's not like something you just memorized and you're never going to use it again. It is very sequential. Everything builds up on one another. That is why you cannot skip any concept, especially in your syllabus, because the syllabus, like A-level syllabus, IGCSE syllabus, it's designed in a chronological order that when you learn topic 1, it's going to be used in topic 10. And topic 12 cannot be done without doing topic 10. So it's like that. Okay. And one other thing you need to do is you need to understand why you do each step. Okay. Why you do each step? Okay. So suppose I keep comparing it to other subjects, because usually the idea of learning is that you memorize information, but it's not so here. Even in A level and IGCSE, you will be given the formula sheet. You're not even supposed to memorize anything. You need to know how to apply that. You need to understand why we are doing the step. What is the reason behind it? Don't do any step in math just for the sake of it. Okay, if you're doing A plus B equals C and you're substituting A and B, you need to know why you're substituting that. You need to know why behind each and everything. Use topical papers, okay? Don't just memorize the content, learn the concept, and then jump straight into past papers. You are going to be very humbled. You're going to be very scared that what is this? I don't know this. You need to just learn a concept and then step by step, take baby steps, solve workbooks, solve books, then move on to topical papers, then do past papers. So it's not something that you can just jump right into. You need to slowly do it topic wise, master each topic, and that brings us to our second point, which is basically master before moving on. You need to master the first concept, okay? It's not like you just go straight into complex integration without knowing basic derivation. It's like you need to master one thing, then you move on to the second. Because if you have gaps in your topic one, then it's going to be very obvious in topic 10. The gaps will keep building up, and you're going to mess up completely. You're going to lose motivation. So just start with the basics, identify the basic, like, gaps and shortcomings you have in the like initial topics, then move on to the further ones. Okay, so we have a question here. I have a question. I know I can do math if I have best practice, but on a time crunch, what's the best way to practice math concepts from your spotty in different places? And I only realize I have a problem and I can't do a question in the exam. Best way to practice, I would suggest using a workbook because it is less daunting than a past paper. Like a workbook, math problems will remain the same. Okay, like a math problem is the same. The essays can be slightly different phrase, but a math problem is a math problem. I would recommend using a workbook or a book because it is less daunting. It is more friendly, more familiar to you, and like you have less time. I would recommend going through a workbook and the most advanced section of it because that would be the most similar to your past papers. And before the exam, just solve one past paper completely under timed conditions. Okay, time conditions is really important because you all can do topical papers, one question in 15 minutes, one question in 20 minutes, but under a time constraint, under restricted time, it's going to be harder and you need to learn to manage your time. So yeah, do focus on workbook questions and then just do timed practice. That's really important. Okay. And another thing is that you need to find patterns in questions. There are some concepts in maths which are not that frequently tested. You won't be asked about cumulative frequency diagrams in every other question, but algebra will be involved in every question. There are some concepts which are fundamental. They will be repeated in every question. And in your specific syllabus, for example, in IGCSE, in the topic vectors, we have a lot of comparing of coefficients. And in A-level series, we have a lot of binomial. So you can see that read your syllabus carefully and look at past papers, see which topics and questions are the most repeated. You're going to have to see this trend and see where it's going. Do not rely on it, but it will give you a basic idea of which is the most heavily tested topic in the paper. Okay. Then mistakes are learning opportunities. You keep hearing this, but when you make a mistake, you're like, oh no, I suck at math. I can't do it. You close your books, you throw it away, and you have just made the biggest mistake of your life because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If you make a mistake, that means you have identified a gap in your learning. You know what to work on now, and you can avoid making that mistake later. If you just solve the easy questions and you're like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, I'll just solve basic. And then when you see the exam, you're like, oh no. And then you make a mistake in the real exam and then you come up with a C, you're like, but my past papers went so well. Well, if they are going well, if your past papers are going well, that is a big red flag because you need to make some mistakes in your past papers to actually see what are your mistakes because it's impossible that you're going to start a new topic and everything's going to be perfect. That is impossible. That does not happen in math. It's a very problematic subject, and if you're not facing any problems, then that is a problem. So do make mistakes. Don't be scared of making mistakes. Okay. Now, how do you make an effective study plan? Now, we've all heard this, divide your time, but that is too vague. That is too vague. Mathematics is something which you can't just do like, okay, I'll do some maths today, I'll do this, I'll do this. No, you need to make it very practical. Okay? So what you need to do is there's let me just show you. There's a strategy which is really helpful because math is topical as well as yearly. So what you need to do is just write your topics in the left column and years of past papers across the top. You can do this in Excel, Google Docs, you can use a sheet of paper. So what you can do is you can just write the topics, for example, vectors over here. You can write algebra over here. And over here you can write 2012, 2013, 2014. So it's very basic, but how it will help you is like this. You do all the vector questions from 2012. When you're done, just write that there and make a separate entry, make a mistake booklet. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to organize your topic. I did all the vector questions from 2012. I did the vector questions from 2013. You can see your progress, not only topic-wise, but also yearly. Okay, and whatever mistakes you make, write them down in a separate notebook or just take screenshots of them if you're doing them on an iPad, doesn't matter. But do make something like this, which has like all the topics on the left and all the years at the top. So you can see how you're proceeding, okay? And okay, so now people usually say start from the latest papers. Okay, that is like a very generic thing in Cambridge, that you should start from the latest papers, 2024, 2023. But what I recommend in math is that you start with the older papers, start from 2010. That sounds very counterintuitive, that why would I start older papers? But when you're very underconfident in a topic, you have just started a new topic, you should go for the older papers. Older papers, they tend to be much easier because the syllabus hasn't been developed so much. The questions haven't been so, like, haven't become so really, what do you say, thought provoking. They're more basic, they're more towards the basic side. And if you do older questions, chances are that they might be the ones which are now repeated. So older papers, just start with those 2010, 2011, just 2 or 3 years of older papers, start those. And then you should make your way from 2024. When you're very confident in your topics, start with the latest paper, because the latest papers, they're getting harder and harder. They're getting not harder, I would say they're getting trickier. And if you just did the syllabus and you just do the 2024 latest paper and you're like, what is this? This is not what I have done. You're going to get really demotivated. So start off basic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's slow, but at least you will be walking stairs instead of jumping off a cliff. That is what you need to. Just reading the chat in case you guys have any questions. Okay. No worries. Okay. And then you need to space out study sessions. Now, there is this scientific learning technique called spaced repetition. That is basically, I know this presentation is really brief, but I'm here to explain, so don't worry. Spaced repetition, it's like space. This thing is basically that you study topic one on day one, okay? Then look at this example. You study algebra on day one, you study algebra on day two, then you're like algebra on day three. Then by day four, you're sick of algebra, but you keep doing it. You're like, I need to perfect algebra. But there's a learning curve, okay? I'm sure most of you know what a graph is. There's a learning curve. At this point, your learning will either stop. You cannot learn more. You cannot cram more because your brain is sick of that information. It's psychological. You can't just keep learning one thing for ages. You can't just keep learning algebra, and you're just stuck on that. Math is sequential. You need to build up. In gym, people who do gym, progressive overload. When you increase the weights. You need to do that. You can't just stay on one topic forever. Do topic one day, then revise it the next day, then take a break. You can take a break for a day, okay? Not more than one day. Don't miss twice. And then do some, like, maybe simultaneous equations. Make it a bit more complex so you don't get bored. Because once you get bored, then you are going to get demotivated. You're going to get demotivated when it's really hard. You're going to get bored when it's really easy. So it's better to just stay in the balance. Slowly keep adding harder problems. Slowly move on to the next topic. You can't just stay on one topic forever. Okay, so progressive overload mathematically, that is also very important. What do you mean I'm not audible? I think people can hear me. It's your internet problem. Sorry. Okay. And consistency is key. Now, basically, people have like different attention spans, okay? Some people can study 2 hours without any distraction. Some can study 5 minutes. That is okay. But like this is just like an example, dedicate at least 2 hours daily. 2 hours a daily to mathematics in holidays is not feasible. Do it when you have exams, but daily just solve at least 5 math questions of the topic you are currently studying. Like at least 5 questions of the topic you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's easy, if doesn't matter if it's hard, it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, but 5 to 6 questions of that topic daily so it stays retained in your brain. Because once you skip a day, you're gonna be like, oh no, I skipped. I can't do this. Then you skip another day. Then you skip another day and you get stuck in the vicious cycle. It's for everything. It's for dieting, it's for exercise, it's for organization, and currently it's for maths. If you skip more than like once, then you're going to be like, it doesn't matter. I can just skip. But you need to do at least, just do a bit. Just do like 4 or 5 questions, short questions. It will just like take like half an hour, but at least it will keep you in the streak. You will have your running streak. And that is basically what you need to do. When you come home from school or if you're studying privately, just get up in the morning and just do a bit of math. It doesn't matter if you study a concept or if you do some questions, just do something. Okay. And basically you need to revise as well. This is very generic. Don't just do a topic, then solve questions, then you just then near the end of 2025 you're going to study the last topic, and then you're like, oh no, what was topic 1? I forgot all the algebraic formulas, I forgot all the algebraic identities. And then you will have to go back to the start and you'll have to redo the syllabus. So instead of doing the whole syllabus once, then the whole syllabus, then doing past papers, do topic 1, then do topic 2, then revise both the topics, and that will basically more time efficient. Like I said, maths is sequential. You cannot forget topic 1 and then think you can do topic 10. No, you cannot. That will never work. Give a first grader like calculus problems. They won't be able to do it, but you can probably because you have studied grade 1. So it is like very sequential. Okay. Now there are some ways to solve questions. Okay, there are some really important ways to solve questions. Okay, you cannot just like take a question, you solve it, you got it wrong. Oh, okay, I got it wrong. Mark it wrong and then just leave it. So there's a right way to approach topical questions, and this is like recommended by many Cambridge examiners, that you have to show your working no matter what. Most of you, like 99% of the students, they do have some kind of teacher, tutor, some kind of mentor, anyone they can ask their questions from. So what you need to do, suppose I have a question, like simplify this. Okay, so you have simplified this, so this is a plus b, a minus b. Okay. This is like the most basic question. Okay, it is a really basic question. But if you somehow solve it wrong, if you're like a square minus b square, 1 second, is a minus b, a minus b. So suppose you write that, like you just think this is the right answer, and then you like show it to your lecturer and you're like, I don't get this. And your lecturer is like, how am I supposed to know you don't get this? So just pretend this is like a really complex problem and you did all the working and you just write the answer, then you cross out all the working and you're like, oh, this is such a mess. And then you show it to your teacher and your teacher is like, what am I supposed to do with this? You got the wrong answer. I don't know where you went wrong. Your teacher won't be able to help you. Then how can we solve this problem? Well, what you need to do is you need to show all your working and write down the steps. Okay. So what I mean by this is obviously in the exam you do show your working. So suppose we have 2 plus 5 into 6. And then you do, suppose you do it wrong, 7 into 6, and then you do 42. So this is basically a wrong working because obviously you're supposed to do this first, and then your teacher looks at it and your teacher is like, okay, this is the step you did wrong. Why did you do this wrong? Now, to make this even more clear for your teacher, you can say, I did this because 2 plus 5 equals 7. So in another colored pen in your topical workbook or your iPad or whatever, write down in words if the answer is wrong. If it's correct, that's fine. But if it is wrong, then write down in words what exactly you're thinking. Is it a conceptual error? Is it an error of maybe a sign? Maybe you did plus minus wrong? Because when you go through your entire thought process, you visit it again, you're going to see where exactly you went wrong. It's not like an essay, you made a spelling mistake. Okay, pinpoint, it's wrong. Math is like every question, it depends on the previous step. If you did one step wrong, all this is going to be carried forward. Okay, and you need to write down your thought process for every question you don't understand and show it to your teacher. Look it up on Google. I wouldn't recommend ChatGPT because ChatGPT, if you give it some answer, it will somehow try to justify it. So go on Google, go on any graphing calculator, ask your teacher. I would recommend having some kind of teacher. And if you're self-studying, then see what exactly is the error. Is it a conceptual error? Is it a calculation error? So do write down the entire thought process. That is really helpful. Okay, let me just read the chat. Yeah, I'm writing with a mouse. It's really bad, but it's okay. You just need to understand. That's all that matters. Okay. And then what you need to do is you need to circle the questions that you don't understand. Don't just skip any question. For example, you're going through your book and you see, oh, question I don't understand. Skip, skip, skip. I'll do the easy ones. Like I said before, you cannot skip any question, okay? Don't skip difficult questions because you need to make mistakes. Okay, so first try attempting it. Okay, do try attempting it and write down exactly what you don't understand in the question. Don't you understand the wording of the question? Is it the notation you don't understand? Is it the method you don't understand, which method to apply? Is it some conceptual error in the method you are choosing? So write down, because you are mostly using a past paper book or a topical book or anything you can write down. Write down, circle the question with a red pen, and then write down, I don't understand the method if I should use this expansion or this expansion for this question. Then just save that, fold that page, and when you go to your teacher or class, show them that and say, I don't understand this because this. Don't just say and say, explain this. That will not let your teacher help you. Your teacher will explain it, but maybe you have some other issue. Maybe it's the calculation you don't understand. You need to tell your lecturer clearly what you don't understand. And first of all, do try to understand it yourself. Don't just go on the extreme end and just circle every question and say, like, I don't understand this, I don't understand this. First, try attempting it a bit and then see where exactly your working is going wrong. Okay? Okay. And then you need to use visual aids. Now the thing is, most people are visual learners, especially in this day where everything is visually presented to us. And math, it can get very, very dull. Now, I don't mean dull as in the subject, I mean as in visually. It's just numbers, letters, numbers, letters, numbers, letters. It's just that, and it can get, when you're tired, it can look like a blur. The square root can look like an integral. It can look very difficult. So I would recommend, when you're solving questions, use another color pen. Like, it's a bit extra, but use another color pen. Black and blue is fine. To just write down your notes and write down the extra steps, use arrows and everything. It will just make it seem a bit less daunting, a bit less dry, and it will just make it seem a little bit easier. We can try to make it a little bit easier. And like I said, don't skip difficult questions, because practice makes perfect. We've all heard this since we were born. Practice doesn't make perfect. This is wrong, by the way. Practice just makes you better than yesterday, and then you have to practice again. There's no such thing as perfect, and you're never going to be perfect. You're just going to be better than before. So yeah, get ready for that. Okay, now there's a thing I recommend for all subjects, and I would say doing this in math saved me. Okay, so my O level was of 3 years IGCSE. The first 2 years I was failing every mock, and then the last year I had a comeback. And this notebook, this is like a personal tip which I'm sharing with you. This notebook is like a lifeline notebook. I made it for math and physics. I wish I had made it for other subjects too, but I would recommend definitely making this. Okay, so it is like a notebook. You can make a series of it. Like, if first notebook finishes, then you can add another one. I would recommend buying a physical notebook, because digital is not that good. So now on the first page, you're going to write down all your formulas. It doesn't matter if they come in a booklet, you're going to write them down. And like, first page is going to be formulas. This is for maths and physics specifically. Over here, we're talking about maths. You're going to write down all the formulas, and you're going to write down all the concepts, not like the whole notes, anything. Don't make complete notes. Just write down the key concepts, that this formula explains this. A stands for this, quadratic formula. A stands for this, coefficient of x squared. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to write down every single question you find hard. Okay. If you want a digital notebook, then just take screenshots of the questions, but write down the questions, okay, by a thick notebook, because it's going to be really thick if you keep using it. Just write down the question you find hard from your book, your past paper, or whatever. Then write down your entire wrong, incorrect, dumb, stupid working. Just write that down, okay, very neatly. Yes, you're going to write down your wrong working very neatly. Then you're going to be your own teacher. You're going to take another color pen, and you're going to say, this is where I went wrong, this is where I went wrong. And that will be your model answer for the topic. Okay, so usually in topics like algebra, there's like one or two types of main questions in IGCSE, like expanding and stuff like that. Now they have added more. So just solve two or three types of questions which you usually get wrong. Write down the whole wrong working and write down the correct working in another color pen. And basically just organize it by topic. Even if it's not by topic, if you're doing it past paper wise, just label it that this is this topic. You don't have to make anything neat or fancy. It doesn't matter. Just use sticky tabs or two pens. That's all you need, literally. You don't need anything. Just buy the cheapest notebook you can find. It doesn't matter. And this is like your exam Bible. It is going to have all the formulas, all the questions you always get wrong. If you're getting a question wrong twice, then you need to add that here because it's a conceptual error. And you're going to show that to your teacher. That teacher, I got this question wrong. How can I correct it? Ask them for their working and try different styles of working, like the easiest and shortest way in the exam, which will save you time, and also make your whatever plan and everything. Just it's called a lifeline notebook for a reason. Like, I would recommend making this for every subject. Like, it's personalized. What you're gonna do is first page all the formulas, basic concepts, first 2 or 3 pages. Then the next you're just going to add in all your wrong questions, kind of like a mistake booklet. But you can also add your small notes on the side that this is where I went wrong, this is what I need to remember for next time. That if you're getting one thing wrong again and again, just add a small reminder that this is what I'm getting wrong and I must not make this mistake again. And even before the exam, you're not supposed to read these questions. You should follow through them with a pencil or just solve some more questions. But this is like for basic reference that all the questions you get wrong, they're all compiled in one place. And like, it's just a very good sort of personal diary to have where you have documented all your wrong questions, all your thought processes, and it's really good and it's like a really good handy thing to have. Like, and you've made it yourself, so that will motivate you even more. Okay, one second. Why are you guys? One second. Chat is so stuck. There's so many messages. Okay. Now the next is that there's another way. You have done all your work. You have done all your math stuff. You've done all your revision. You did your lifeline notebook. You made a schedule. Now you are sitting in the exam. How are you going to solve that math exam? So much pressure, so much stress. You don't understand half the questions. You are seeing that F grade in front of you, which doesn't exist, by the way. You're going to get a U. But that is just the worst case scenario. Okay. Now, this may sound scary, but if your exam is 2 hours long, you're going to do the paper in 1 hour, 15 minutes. Your math should be good and solid enough to quickly solve the paper. And one thing which is really important that in papers like most of you, those who are from Pakistan, we have Pakistan studies, we have English in which you have a choice to answer the questions. Okay, in math you have no choice. Do not read your paper before answering it because in math what happens is that there's no choice to any question. When you open the paper and you just flip through it, you see a number, you see something which you don't know, which is not familiar to you at the moment. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to solve the initial questions and you're going to keep thinking about that. Oh no, that number, I don't know the question, I don't know the question. You're going to make yourself anxious for no reason. Do not scroll through the paper. You're not supposed to scroll through it. For math and physics, do not do this. For bio, you can because you have to write a lot. But for math, do not do it. It is counterintuitive. It doesn't make psychological sense that, oh no, I need to prepare myself. I need to read the paper, but you're not going to do that. If the paper is 2 hours long, solve it in 1 hour, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 5 minutes. It should be fast, okay? Just like kind of flip through it just to see how thick it is, but that's all. You must have done enough past papers to know the length and the duration and the time it takes you to do an average past paper. And that's approximately the time it will take. Obviously, under stress, you will be, but that's okay. You'll have the formulas and everything. If your paper is 1 hour, 15 minutes long, then you need to do it in like 35 or 40 minutes. It seems weird, but you need to do a quick draft of the paper. You are going to solve all the questions with working and everything, and yeah, then you're not going to recheck. Okay, so you need to rework. Okay, now this thing is that basically when we do a math paper we'll leave the last 10 minutes for rechecking. Rechecking does not exist in math, okay, because very few chances that you'll do the entire paper correctly in the first draft, and even fewer chances that you will catch your small errors in those last 5 minutes. So I would say at least last 30 minutes, last 25 minutes, you are going to redo your entire paper. You're going to take a pencil and you're going to like redo each and every entire question. You're going to follow your thought process. Who is that? Okay. Unmuted. Great. Okay, you are going to redo your paper. You are going to follow through each and every step. You're going to think, why did I do this? Why did I do that? And with enough practice, I know it seems very daunting right now. Like, how can we do the paper twice? But you can with enough practice and like enough past papers, you can easily manage that. Okay. So at least like reserve like 1/4 or 2/3 even of the time for rechecking your paper. Not rechecking, redoing your paper. Okay. And because there is like the chances increase drastically that once you follow your entire thought process with a blank mind, don't be biased that, okay, I did this before, so it'll be correct. Don't be biased at all. Redo your paper, redo each and every step. Okay. Like, don't miss out on anything. And for graphs, use a pencil and like don't use a pen. Do overwrite with a pen and do not just like plot the points and then you see, okay, did I plot the points correctly? Okay, done. No. Calculate the points again, then plot them, especially for IGCS, where you have to plot the graphs. Okay, so you need to redo each and every step, especially the questions in which there's a higher chances of error. In algebra questions, expansion questions, 4 marker questions, there's a chance you may multiply the square wrong. You may forget to square the x, you may write 2x, but it's actually x squared at the time. So there are many chances that these small errors, they will accumulate and they will make you go from an A star to an A and an A to a B, which is really sad because you could have avoided those errors and you just decided to be overconfident and leave the exam hall early and then you realize, oh no, I wish I hadn't. Okay. And some things, some people, like to skip questions and they say, we'll come back to that later. Fold the corners. Because once you have less time, you're going to be like, oh no, I forgot to do this. That is going to be really painful. So do fold the corners and answer every question. Literally, do not leave any question blank. Even if you know one step, even if it's like, suppose it is 1 over x, sorry, plus 2 over x, and you have to like combine this into a single fraction, even if you know nothing, just write 3 over x squared, whatever. It is completely wrong, but doesn't matter. At least you did something. You did something. Okay? You may get just 1 mark, and that 1 mark may save your grade. So don't leave anything blank. Even if you know nothing, write something. Because a blank answer, it gives the examiner a really bad impression. And examiners are human. So if you leave it blank, the examiner is going to be like, what? I gave this kid a paper and he left it blank. That really upsets the examiner's mood. Don't leave it blank. Even if you write nonsense, even if you write another language, doesn't matter. Don't leave anything blank. And the hardest thing, you need to stay calm and focused, like really calm and focused. Okay. So what you do is in the exam hall, you can ask for water, you can ask for anything. Okay. You need to drink some water, you need to stay calm, just take deep breaths. Now, this is very cliche that okay, deep breaths. But the thing is that when we are under a lot of stress and pressure, our heart starts to go into survival and flight and fight mode. Some biology here, but it goes into flight and fight mode, and all the blood goes to your limbs, and your limbs start shaking, and your brain goes numb. When you take deep breaths, your heart blood supply has more oxygen, and when your brain has more oxygen, it functions better. So, biologically, psychologically, just 1 second, take a deep breath because if you don't take a deep breath, you're going to start shivering, you're going to start collapsing. Like, you may even have a panic attack, involuntary, of course, because it can be like that. So just relax, pause, take a deep breath, and say, it's just a paper. Yes, it is just a paper. Even if you fail at the end of the day, you're still going to have a right to live. You're not going to die. Everything's going to be all right. So just say it is just a paper. I'll do my best and then it will be all okay. Just give yourself these thoughts that you can do this. And if you come across a question that you cannot solve, chances are you do know how to solve it. It just looks unfamiliar. But obviously, your goal would be to practice as many questions as you can so that no such situation occurs. Then, obviously, you need to don't compare yourself to others. Obviously, a PhD in mathematics will know more than you, and you, an O level student, will not know as much as him or her. So, you need to focus on your progress. Okay, if you know one question, if you have solved one new question today, and you had solved only 2 questions yesterday, and you solved 3 questions today, that is progress. You need to practice all the time. Very cliche, very boring, but if you apply this practically, then you can literally be unstoppable. Like, you need to make your hand write many types of workings, many types of answers. Just slowly clarify your thought process. Make it so clear that when you see the question, you're like, okay, I need to apply this. You write it down, you write your working, you get the answer correct. Make it turn into a breeze because you all still have time. Even those who are giving in October, November, you still have like 1.5 month to do your role and whatever. So even if you have your exams right now, even if you have mock tests, don't waste any time. Just open a past paper, start solving, and you got this. You need to stay positive because if you make a mistake, be grateful that okay, I'm still not in exam. That's good. I'm making a mistake. And if you like don't get your desired grade, you're like, okay, I still have my future. My future didn't die. Let me practice more. I still have A level. I still have university. So at the end of the day, the world will keep spinning and you will keep breathing and it will be okay. You have to look at the bigger picture. Just because you can't solve like a question doesn't mean it's end of the world. It's literally not. And even if the end of the world comes, it's not going to be because of your math question. So basically, what happens is that when we think negatively, we are being very self absorbed. That, okay, every bad thing is going to happen to me. No, you're not that special. Just keep solving your problems, math problems, and don't compare yourself to others. It's okay. Just be neutral. Don't do black and white thinking. Okay, I have to solve 50 past papers today, or I will sleep for 50 days. That is all or nothing mindset. That is really black and white thinking. And with a very gray and like a very complex subject such as math, you cannot work with that. You need to keep a very open mindset. You need to say, it's okay, I can keep doing this. Because there is always going to be one harder question. There's always going to be a worse problem. There's going to be a harder concept, which you have to learn. So you cannot learn that if you're just like self absorbed and in a victim mentality. Oh, I can't do this. I'm so bad at this. You're bad at thinking. That's what you are. I need to trust the process. Just trust it. Improvement will come. If you work for it, then you have to trust the process. Obviously, there will be like setbacks. There will be setbacks. Don't worry. But if you follow tips, you make your topical notebook, you solve questions, you read textbooks, then you have to trust the process that the results are going to come. Okay, great. Muted. Okay, so now I'm just going to answer all your questions. But first, thank you for attending and best of luck for your maths journey. I hope you all find the solutions to your equations soon enough. So let me just answer your questions. Let me just read the chat. Thank you so much for attending, guys. Okay, 1 second. Guys, I do rechecking like as I'm doing it. I solve one question 3 times before moving on the other, but that makes me not finish on time. No, 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 you're not supposed to. Okay, warped face of ZNotes. The one with the whatever PFP, the guy PFP. You're not supposed to spend so much time on one question, okay? If you solve a question, okay, just leave it. Leave it. You should be confident enough the first time that I have solved it, okay? Your first go should will just a blur and all the your mind will be that question throughout the entire exam. You'll be just thinking about that question, okay? Just do your full paper first, then resolve it. Leave at least 30 or to 20 minutes for resolving it, okay? How many past papers a day? If you're just revising the syllabus for now, if you're just starting the syllabus, then you're not supposed to do any past papers. You're just supposed to do workbook questions or anything. But near the exams, you should do like if you have like your exams in October, November, then by now you should have started past papers. You should do at least 2 past papers a day, but not more than 3. Because if you do too many, then you won't have time for quality working. Because every past paper you do should add to your knowledge, it should add to your understanding of your mistakes. So do a past paper, analyze every mistake you did, okay? And then move on to the next past paper. I would recommend 2 to 3 past papers a day. Don't do more than that and do them thoroughly. Don't just do any past paper just for the sake of doing past paper. If you do like 50 past papers a day, but you're at the end of the day you're stuck at 50 out of 80 marks, then that's useless. But if you do 3 past papers and you improve your marks because you learn from your mistakes, then that is really good because that improves the quality of your study sessions. How can I balance studying 4 subjects at once? Well, since this session is about math only, I would recommend that you first focus on math, obviously, but balancing 4 subjects, do 2 subjects a day. Don't just dedicate one day to one subject completely. Do 2 subjects a day, then do 2 subjects the other day. And study at the time when you have your maximum focus. Some people are night owls, some people are morning birds, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you study because near the exams, it's okay. Just sleep well, okay? Just sleep well. And when you wake up, whenever you wake up, study your first subject, then take a break, have a snack, whatever, then study your other subject, then leave it, go back to sleep, and then the next day study your other two subjects, okay? Yasha, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but that's like, yeah. Can I study two subjects per day? Yeah, you can. You can. You should study two subjects per day because if you just study one subject the entire day, you're going to get bored and you're going to get really tired and sick of it. And you're not going to want to study that subject again. So I would recommend 2 to 3 subjects per day if you have many subjects, not more than three because it will be a really big chaos if you study 4 subjects a day. I'm not good at chemistry, especially A level chemistry. I can do O level chemistry, but not A level. Sorry. Vanilla, I'm sorry. I don't do physical chem. I don't I don't think I'll even do A level chemistry. The IGCSE. Is it true? I'm writing my boards in 2025 Feb March. I should practice question from past paper and follow through syllabus. That is like the most basic formula. Past papers and syllabus. That is like the basic formula. Over here, we discussed how to do that. How can you solve a proper past paper? How to solve questions? How to follow concepts, okay? Past paper and syllabus is like the basic fundamental formula. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that for weight loss, you need to eat less and exercise more. But Irshad 78, for past papers and syllabus, you need to learn the proper technique for doing that. You need to find your own style. You need to see that past papers and syllabus, everyone knows that. You need to do past papers and syllabus. But there's a proper way of doing that. You need to run through the syllabus. You need to do topical. You need to do everything. These two sentences, they summarize everything. Past papers and syllabus. We all know that. But there's a way of doing that. And you need to master that, and you will. Don't worry. Okay? Just be confident. Is mechanics and A-level maths like more practical and theoretical? I don't know. I didn't. I think it's more like physics. It's more like applied physics. Like they give you scenarios, like they do in IGCSE physics, but obviously there's no practical. Okay. Maths is like in its own, it has its own category. It's neither practical nor theoretical. It's just maths. So I think that kind of sums it up. Like it can be applied practically, it can be studied in theory, but maths is
Uh,
just like
yeah, but my most of my family members say that it's very practical.
can you type your question in the chat box? Thank you. Yeah, so answering your question, your family member says it's practical. That's their problem. Everyone has their own opinion. Like, I don't know how that's a problem for you. That is their opinion. Let them do whatever they want. Let them say whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect your studies in any way. If it's practical, theoretical, psychological, financial, mental, spiritual, it doesn't matter. You're gonna do it and you're gonna get good grades. It doesn't matter what type of subject it is. Okay, any other questions? Let me just scroll up. I think there were some like questions which I didn't answer. I need to. Yeah, okay. Drinking 5 cans of Red Bull, don't do that. You're gonna get a caffeine overdose and your brain's gonna get fried. Don't do that. Don't drink 5 cans of Red Bull. Someone asked that. I forgot. I just scrolled up and saw it, so I answered it. Okay, guys, if you have any other questions, just ask. I will share this slide as well. 1 second. I'm gonna share this for you so you guys can just enjoy. Regarding math, is time management important? Yeah, time management is important for everything, any subject, any sphere of life. You need to manage your time because once the time is gone, you're not going to get it back. You're going to grow old, you're going to lose your teeth. So do manage your time in everything, not just for maths, okay? So, like, would you need to manage time and practice? Obviously, you can't just take 5 days for a past paper. You need to manage your time. How to not procrastinate? Okay, so for procrastination, I like to use the 2 minute rule. It is like a very harsh rule, okay? But yeah, we need to do that. 2 minutes, okay? You will not say, I will go and do my work at 7:30. You're not gonna say that. You're gonna say, I will do my work in 2 minutes, okay? I will do my work in 2 minutes, or I will not be allowed to work for 3 days. You need to say that to yourself, okay? So you have this choice of either doing it right now in 2 minutes or you can just be lazy for 3 days. So either be more lazy or just be immediately like practical and do productive. Okay. So this is called the 2 minute rule. It is really harsh and even cruel, but it really helps. Just set a timer for 2 minutes. And if you don't get up, then you are not allowed to work for 3 days. So that is like, if you want to really push yourself and discipline yourself, that would really help, I think. That's personally what I use. So just do that. And if you are lazy for 3 days, then the guilt and the trauma will be enough to motivate you. At least that works for me. So do try that. How many hours do I study in a day? I've taken 5 levels. You can study like 27 hours a day. That will really help. Survive on the Red Bull. At least. No, no, just study. Don't study more than 8 hours a day. Okay, don't study more than 8 hours a day. The typical work duration is basically 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours. The typical school day is 8 hours because it is like the maximum average efficiency time. The brain cannot be more active. Like it gets tired after 8 hours of being awake or 8 hours of working. It gets really tired. So don't study more than 8 hours a day. Increase it to 10 hours in exams, but that is it. Don't study too much because then you're going to get really burnt out. If you do really intense back to back studying, hours to hours, then you're going to get burned out and then you're not going to be able to study. Okay, what other question? Hey, Aisha, is it true that you need to be more serious on A levels regarding maths? Obviously, it is 10 times harder than O levels. You need to be A levels is advanced level and O level stands for ordinary level. 1 second. I think it reloaded or okay, not 10 times harder, maybe 9 times harder, but ordinary is advanced level for a reason. Okay? So do I think that kind of explains that. One A level is approximately equal to 3 or 4 O levels. So do like it's obvious. It's an advanced level. You need to O level first. It's going to be harder. You're not going to work harder. AS and add maths are like basically the same. AS is 4 times of add maths because add maths is one paper of A levels. So don't worry. It's harder. Okay, any other questions? Guys, am I cooked for taking 7 IGCSE, but it is starting a week ago. I don't know, May stuff, all subjects, time to solve enough past papers. Guys, I don't know. I cannot solve all your time management queries because like this session is specifically related to math. So I don't know much about 7 IGCSEs. If they include math, then do follow these tips and you will be good to go. We need a Q&A session. Okay, sure, sure. You can have your Q&A session. What kind of question is that? I'm taking math and add math. Yes, and yeah, then just follow these tips. You'll be good to go. Even if you have a week, if you use it properly, then you can get a decent. 1 second. 1 second. I'm typing it out. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Let me stop presenting and you can ask your questions. Stop stream. Okay, you can ask your. Someone asked a long question. 1 second. Okay, Roblox gaming buddy. I spend 8 hours in school, and when I come back from school, I directly go to tuition and spend 1.5 hours there. And when I come back home, I don't get time to study at all. My syllabus isn't completed yet for maths, and my teacher is going like speed of Ferrari to complete the syllabus, and it's kind of hard to catch up. Work at your own pace. Leave the teacher. At the end of the day, it's you who are gonna give the exam and not your teacher. Leave your teacher. Your teacher doesn't care. Your teacher just wants to teach and get the money. That's all that matters. So just work at your own pace. Doesn't matter. You don't have to catch up. Chill. Thank you for answering the question. Bye. Okay, you're welcome. Okay. You guys have any questions?